We are recording. You've got your lip balm. You've got paper. You've got pen. You've got a Chinese pen.
Japanese.
Well, that's embarrassing. Sorry. Hello and welcome to stuff.jpg, a podcast about images and stuff. My name is Holly St Clair. I am your host. I am an illustrator and educator. And today I am joined once again by Lily Kong. Lily, tell us about yourself.
Hi everyone, I'm Lily. I am also an illustrator.
From
Hong Kong, now based in London.
Okay, so today I am not going to make you draw a post-it drawing because the topic we're covering means that could be incredibly problematic.
Yep.
It also means that I have to give a short content warning before we begin. We will be talking about xenophobia today. There will be racist imagery. If you feel upset and angry looking at it, that is good. You should feel upset and angry. If it's not something you can handle today, just look after yourself. Pick something else to watch. Maybe. I was going to say another video, but there's like 2.
Okay.
Never mind. Okay, but Lily, you're stuck with me.
Yeah.
Which means that because we're practicing trauma-informed trauma-informed practice, that means that if you want to tap out at any point, you get to say a safe word, and we will talk about whatever you want for a minute.
Okay.
Have you picked your safe word?
It would be penguin.
Is that because of my hat?
Yeah. And also, I watched a TikTok video of Benedict Cumberbatch. Is that how he's called him?
Yes.
Saying the word penguin, but in a really absurd way.
He says penguin.
Yeah. No, penguin? Yeah.
Penguin.
It was weirder than that.
He's much posher than I am.
Yeah.
I'm quite posh.
Anyways,
okay.
Penguin it is.
Penguin is the safe word. Excellent. When you say that, you can talk about TikToks that you've watched with Benedict Cumberbatch.
Imagine if I say safe word is panda.
Yeah.
No.
Penguin's better. Penguin's less loaded in this context. Okay. The first image I want to show you is this.
Oh no.
Please, can you describe what you see? You can ask me questions if you're not sure about anything. But yeah.
Well, this is a memorial statue that represents the Korean War, or maybe people who died in Korean War, but there's a very obvious font choice, and that's chopstick font that stuck with the title Korean War, and that just looks bad. Oh no. When is it made?
It is from... So it was commissioned in 2006, I think. Yeah.
Do you think most people are aware of how ridiculous this font looks like in public in 2006?
I thought about this because I wondered how many different people this monument had to go through to be made and erected.
Yeah.
And for it to be open to the public and for it to still have this typeface on it.
Because surely there's a pretty standard way of designing this. They would have to follow a certain kind of template or guideline already. But why change the title font into this chopstick font? It's a very intentional choice.
Yes. I was going to say, I know why. It starts with an R and it ends with a ism.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's funny because well, it's not funny, haha, but like funny, like suspicious.
Yeah.
This memorial is in Veterans Memorial Park in New York, well, New York State.
Yeah.
And so it's a park full of war memorials for all of the various conflicts that the Americans have been involved in. And as far as I know, this is the only one with this typeface attached to it. I wonder why. Some other things that I kind of noticed from it is the Korean flag is much smaller than the American flag. I'm not sure if that's a scale thing, if they're different ratios, or if it's intentional. But then I look at the typeface for the title and I think, yeah, that's probably intentional.
Yeah.
I think you've guessed what we're talking about today. This is a particularly unfortunate example of a chop suey or chopstick font. I am going to use the term chop suey for reasons that will become clear as we go through the history of these typefaces and what they represent.
What's Suey?
It's a really good question.
Okay.
Can you hold on to it?
Yeah.
This is one of the earliest examples of chop suey lettering. I don't know if you can read, but can you see what the typeface is called?
I can't. What, here?
It's called Chinese.
Oh.
Yes, this is a copy of a specimen for the Chinese typeface developed by the Cleveland Type Foundry in 1883. It was later renamed to the slightly less offensive, but still pretty offensive, Mandarin.
Oh, the same. It's the same thing.
It is a display font. It's supposed to be used for titles. And we are going to talk about why it exists. I've just noticed as well that they've misspelled Mesopotamia.
Oh, yeah. Mesopotamia.
Also, do they think Mesopotamia is in Asia?
Probably.
Oh, God.
St. Vine Alley. Yeah. Well, 1818 through Cleveland. Sure.
It tracks for you. It tracks.
Yeah.
There is, I'm going to show you an example of one that's a little bit earlier, about 4 years or earlier in 1879, which is also a patented, I'm doing air quotations, Chinese typeface. This is by William Jackson. This one...
How are they inspired by... What inspired them?
Oh, good news. I can tell you exactly what inspired them because they wrote it down in the patent.
Okay.
Or the patent? Patent.
I think both is fine.
Okay. This is... Do you want to tell me what you see here? For the context for the listeners, Lily is from Hong Kong. You're Chinese.
Yeah.
I am British, but I'm half Burmese. I'm half Asian, half white. And so we are coming from slightly different perspectives of what like Asianness looks like.
Yeah.
And so I'm interested for you. What is this?
I can see there's a lot of inspirations that come from a stereotypical look of what maybe the older generations think of tribal font to be. And most of it is because, there are a lot of streaks. It looks almost like fences. And usually these things kind of associate with more of a rural village like aesthetics.
The idea of the less developed, this kind of offensive stereotype of kind of underdeveloped countries. Because as we all know, there are no big cities in China.
Yeah, well, obviously.
I'm going to show you the patent. It's really hard to read, but I will highlight some quotes from it that kind of explain where this came from. So the patent says that the lettering is caricatured resemblance to Chinese letters. So they are aware that it doesn't look like Chinese letters. They are saying that it's a caricature with ornaments to fill up the character and produce an effect like Chinese printing. The typeface was developed from the number 1. I'm just going to go back to the...
this one.
Yes. And so the typeface was developed from the number 1 as described here. The body mark of the figure or numeral character 1 consisting of a mark light at the top and gradually increasing in weight to the bottom, then again decreasing in weight like the point or scimitars, is the base of the whole font. So the whole font has been derived from the
flow of the weight of the brush.
Yes, and he describes it as being like scimitars. This is a scimitar.
Oh, God.
You also might know it as a scimitar. It is a kind of West Asian, Middle Eastern sword, most kind of associated with like Arab culture.
I was going to say this is not in Chinese culture at all. The swords we have they look very different from this.
I think it's a pretty perfect example of Orientalism. Everything past this point is Asian. And it's all the same. So let's compare this to the real thing from 800 years earlier. Do you know much about Chinese calligraphy?
I learned it when I was very young. But I guess I didn't know too much about the history of it. I know some really good calligrapher. And we've seen their work in the museum. We learn about it when we learn calligraphy. That's it.
I mean, that's okay. I'm not going into a history of calligraphy.
Okay.
Yeah, this is a example that I pulled from a site that teaches you about Chinese calligraphy. I don't know if it's a good example or not.
It's pretty good.
It's from Jingguan. Is that right? Thank you. 1079, so 700 years before the previous specimen. It's a poem that has been written out. And this is what the fonts, the typefaces that we saw previously are trying to, in some way, imitate or mimic.
Yeah.
So Chinese calligraphy has 8 strokes. I'm going to try and say them.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Dian.
Dian.
Dian. Pie.
Pie. Yes, that's correct.
Na.
Na, that's correct.
Shu.
Shu.
Oh, shu. Go. Go.
Yeah, good enough.
No, I can do it. Go. Wan.
Wan.
I can't do. That's the sound I can't do. Wan.
Yeah.
Ti.
Ti.
This is also the one I can't do. Hang.
Yeah, close enough.
Thank you. Do you want to run through them all again?
It's dian, pie, na, shu, go, wan, ti, heng.
Thank you. So the chop suey font usually only contains ti and na.
Yeah.
Meaning that it's extremely limited.
Yeah.
They've picked 2 of the strokes that they think, I can use that to imitate into the Latin alphabet, and have kind of, if you forgive the kind of loose pun, chopped it together. The issue with designing a font this way is that the Latin alphabet has lots of closed circles. So O, B, Q, D, P. That's all of them. Oh, and capital letters, R and stuff. But Hanzi has no circles.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about this. I was like, really? They wanted to make an Eastern-looking font that translates to a Latin alphabet. They could have chosen Burmese. It's all circles.
Oh, really?
Yeah. People. I saw a meme once, which was like how to identify the different sort of Asian scripts. And they got to Burmese, and they were like, "It looks like butts and boobs." Jeez. I was like, thanks. So the question is, what happened? And I think we need to establish two trends from the time period, the 1800s, Orientalism and chinoiserie. This is an example of Orientalism. Do you want to describe the image, what you see?
I see a painting of 3 women sitting on the floor and one other person standing. The women on the floor are smoking and they're wearing really glamorous clothes. They seem to be relaxing in their homes. And the person who's standing has much darker skin. She's wearing clothes that are not as glamorous. I'm gonna guess she's a peasant or some kind of a servant. Yeah, that's it.
So this is a piece by Eugène Delacroix. It is Les Femmes Algiers, the Algerian women. It's a pretty standard image of Orientalism at the time. So in the 19th century in Europe, it was really fashionable for Western artists to travel to the Middle East or Western Asia and create representational work depicting the region or scenes from the region. There were lots of illustrators creating postcards and selling those postcards, sort of landscapes, scenes from towns, things like that. And then these more sort of involved, developed images, which are kind of, you know, as you develop an image, it becomes further and further away from the reference.
Yeah.
That's kind of what's happened here.
And you want to add more and more drama to it. So it looks interesting.
The idea is it's selling this idea of the East, the Orient, that is luxurious, it's wealthy. There's a sense of exoticism.
Yeah.
It looks very different to 1800s French society.
Yeah.
But the artist is still he's still limited by his own worldview. I think if you look at a lot of the fabrics and things, they look like the fabrics that French nobility of French middle classes would be wearing. There's kind of rich fabrics. They're kind of like brocade or the velvets.
Their skin is so pale.
I'm wondering if this is a exaggeration of kind of colorism that exists in a lot of Asian societies where, like, you know, darker skinned people are considered lesser or are sort of restricted to servant roles.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Or this could be a white person's idea of what their society looks like.
Yeah.
So that's Orientalism. And then we have chinoiserie.
What's chinoiserie?
Chinoiserie is French for, wait for it.
Oh, chinoise. Oh, Chinese. Chinesery.
Exactly.
Oh, no. Everything sounds so bad.
Right? This is danseuse chinoise, which is the Chinese dancer. It's
clownish.
It is clownish. What makes you say that?
Well, it just reminds me so much of circus. And there's a tent that looks like a circus on the bottom right corner.
I think it's supposed to be a pagoda.
Ah.
but
I
it's
see.
very roughly drawn.
Yeah.
There's also like ideas of the flora and fauna that is supposed to look East Asian. One of the things that I kind of take with this is the association of like sharp edges and points. If you look at the heel on his shoe, the way that it is such a ridiculous like stiletto point.
I've never seen shoes like this in Chinese culture. I think it's a combination of just fantasy from like as a whole from Asia or East Asia.
So chinoiserie is kind of the trend or the what's the word that I'm looking for? It's almost like a art, design, fashion trend.
Yeah.
During the 18th century, it was really popularized because of trade between Europe and China.
All the silk and the ceramics and the porcelain.
It became, all of those objects became associated with wealth, with, again, the idea of the exotic. This has come from far away. It was very expensive to get. It was, and now it's here.
Yeah.
And that trend sort of trickles down in the same way that like a runway trend, something you see in the runway will trickle down to Primark eventually.
Yeah.
I'm saying this cartoon is Primark.
Yeah, I can see them doing that.
So chinoiserie remained cool for much of the 19th century, except during the Opium Wars. This is a trend that we're going to see a lot. Every time the international relationships between China and the West diminish, the desire, the fashion towards Eastern sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? Stuff. It falls out of fashion. Chinoiserie falls out of fashion because politically they're at war.
Yeah.
Or it's viewed as kind of the enemy's stuff. And it might not be sort of explicitly said, but it's something that you can softly do. So if you're sort of trying to express your patriotism, you might step away from the porcelain and step towards, I don't know,
something else.
Tin plates. What do European people use? Just, I don't know, like a Stoke clay.
A silverware.
Yeah, silverware. There we go. There is also a fantastic book that I'm completely blanking on the title of. Might quickly Google it. Okay. So there is a, if you're interested in the history of Chinese imports into Europe, The White Road is excellent. The author kind of travels to the place where porcelain's made. And
The White Road.
The White Road, as opposed to the Silk Road.
Oh.
So the idea is that because Europeans were unable to replicate porcelain.
Okay.
They didn't have the clay, so they couldn't make it. So they would try and find ways. So you might have heard the term bone china.
Yes.
Also,
it's the same as porcelain.
It's the same, but it's just the European like reinvention of it.
Oh, okay.
Because they couldn't do it themselves and it was very expensive. So it was like, this is a way to sell it to middle class people.
Ah, interesting.
So, to sum up that bit, when international relations with China were good, Chinese stuff was popular and cool. When they were bad, out of fashion. But we are talking about fonts. And to understand chop suey fonts, I think we need to understand the American historical context. I might drop a sound effect of a eagle squawking. like a "Ka!" Excellent. Would you like to say what you see in this image?
It's an etching image of a mining site, as it suggests. Mining site in California with lots of, I want to say, Asian-looking people because of their hairstyles. Mm-hmm. It's the very common, like these bunch of people have this very common hairstyle from Qing, which is one of the dynasties in China, which is pretty much the last dynasty before China goes into civil war and goes into becoming a communist country.
Which would be in 1911?
1911. Yeah.
It's around the same time as the First World War, right?
No. Is it?
Maybe.
No, it's the fallen of Qing. Yeah, it's pretty much because the Communist Party doesn't rule over China immediately after First World War.
You have the war with Red Army, White Army.
Yeah, and then after Second World War, that's when the Civil War starts. Anyways, that's off topic.
Anyway.
I see a bunch of people just gathering around a mining site in California, and they look like the associations is obviously they're Asians because they're wearing clothes from Qing.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
There you go.
I actually read somewhere that the Chinese migrants were kind of, and I don't know if this was like a law or if it was like heavily implied that they had to wear these clothes to express their like loyalty to the Qing dynasty.
In America? I don't know. If they moved to California for work and like out of their free will, I would say they wouldn't do that. But there's a lot of fuck up things in Qing dynasty. At the end of Qing dynasty, people were having a really hard time. Some people got sent away as almost like slaves to America or like just European countries as a workforce. Free labor.
Very interesting. Yeah. Okay, because that is the other side of the coin, I guess, to what I'm about to talk about.
Okay.
So in the 1850s, Chinese immigrants arrived in the United States to work in the Californian gold rush. They also worked in mines and on the construction of the Central Pacific Railroad. In 1868, the Burlingame Treaty established trade between Qing China and the USA, which lifted restrictions on immigration and allowed many more Chinese laborers to travel to the States to work. Now, that's interesting because you have said that a lot of people were sort of sent away, as opposed to what the site that I have read and researched, which is like, they came.
Oh. Oh, God.
Because they wanted to work. This is what, I don't know what they call like the digital iron wall of like the different versions of history that you might learn from like, depending on what country you're brought up in.
That's true. But also, if you're, I guess, as you said, it's like the two sides of things. If you don't really, I learned this by just studying history in general in secondary school. I think if you're in that particular country, you just learn a lot more about the local history. It's like when I'm here in the UK and we're talking to our friends, I never understand how many kings and how many Henrys there are in British history because all I can think of is, what? There are more of them?
8. There's 8 of them.
Okay.
And if anything happens to Prince William and his children, then there will be 9. Because Harry is a Henry.
Oh, huh?
Yeah.
How is he? So he's Harry Henry.
Harry is short for Henry.
What?
I know it's the same amount of syllables, but it's his like posh people's naming conventions.
This is weird.
Where you'll get like you'll get a girl whose nickname is Minty, and her full name will be like, it's stupid. It's beside the point as well.
Okay, good to know.
Okay, so Chinese laborers were working in California, but the American white workforce were not happy, as I'm sure you'll be surprised to hear.
Their job's getting taken. It's always the same thing.
The American workforce were threatened by what they viewed as cheap Chinese labor, which is a phrase I have heard in the news this week. There was a big anti-Chinese movement developing, and it created the most American piece of racist art I have ever seen.
Oof.
Do you want to guess what it is? I'll get 2 clues. It's very racist and it's very American.
Is it Uncle Sam beating up a small Asian man? I'm just guessing. I've never seen it. Is it?
If you had to add one more thing to that, what would it be?
With a finger pointing at him? Oh, and a gun! Oh no! The Chinese must go. Oh God.
Yeah, you've already started, but please tell me, what do you see?
Well, there's an American soldier, I assume, because with the hat and the uniform, kicking the butt of another person. I'm going to assume he's Asian because he's half bald, and that was the hairstyle of the time.
That's what we saw in the previous image as well.
Oh.
With someone having their head shaved.
Yeah.
Yes, so...
Is this a real gun? Surely it's not.
Do you know what? It's somehow worse. It's not a real gun. It's a children's toy.
Oh no! Oh no! What, they made this as a mass-produced toy?
As a piece of promotional art for their movement against the Chinese laborers, they made an iron toy gun that when you pull the trigger, the American worker in his hat and his jacket kicks the butt of the Chinese laborer.
Oh no. Oh, so many things is just wrong with people. You know what? This is a classic representation of how people would pick the weakest among a conflict to hate on, because it's a lot easier to target the weakest to hate.
I'm gonna probably repeat this later, but it's this contradiction that's like at the heart of all racist shit of like the people that you hate are stupid and uncivilized and they are weak, but also they're responsible for ruining your life. They have so much power, they're influential, they're plotting against you. Like this weird contradiction of people being both like really threatening and also pitiful at the same time.
That's just so sad. I mean, in this example, these Chinese workers are obviously earning just pennies. It's the entrepreneurs that hire them or, got them. Don't know how they got them. Who's doing the thing? They have the power, and all people can hate, or American people can hate at that time, are the weakest among all.
This is why they will never have a workers' revolution in America, because they will always blame the worker. There's no class solidarity. Not to go on like a sort of socialist rant, but there is no class solidarity at all. What? These two people are on the same level, class-wise, financially, career-wise. The Chinese person is probably a little bit lower because racism. Yeah. And he's blaming this person who is much closer to his own situation rather than the person who is hiring cheap labor.
Yeah. Classic. It's just humanity. Seriously.
Yeah. Okay. Just to remind you, you do have a safe word if you want to.
Oh, it's fine. I'm enjoying this. This is interesting. I mean, it's fact, so good to know.
Yeah, just wanted to flag that again in case.
Sanguine.
Okay, so in 1882, in response to the anti-Chinese movement sentiment, Congress passed the Chinese Exclusion Act, prohibiting immigration from China for 10 years. It was extended in 1892 by the Geary Act. This was the only US law ever to prevent immigration on the basis of race. Yet.
Surprise, surprise!
Surprise, surprise.
2025, here we go again.
Yeah, I wrote that and then I was like, by the time this episode drops, that might not be true anymore.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, let's see what happens to relationships with India. We will see. I'm going to show you another cartoon and here you go. Lily, please describe what you see and I'm going to get some more wine.
Okay. So there's an Asian looking man sitting on top of a crate that says order. I say he's Asian because of his hairstyle. He's half bald again. And he looks confused or in misery. And he was shut off from the gate of liberty. Golden Gate of Liberty. I'm going to say it looks like that this man is being rejected from the representation of industry, order, justice. Oh, I just saw a notice that says communist, socialist, welcome but no admittance to Chinamen. Oh God, this is so bad. Okay, so Chinese people are being rejected in general.
Yes. So this illustration is from Frank Leslie's Illustrated newspaper. It was published in 1882, so shortly after the Chinese Exclusion Act was brought into place. The text at the bottom says, "The only one barred out. Enlightened American statesman, we must draw the line somewhere, you know."
Do you think this is satirical? Is this a commentary or is this propaganda? Like is promoting this act?
I read this as being almost saying that the law has not gone far enough.
Ah.
So the notice says, communist, nihilist, socialist, Fenian, and hoodlum welcome, but no admittance to Chinamen. And the caption suggests that Chinese laborers is where the line is drawn.
Oh God.
Like they are so bad that we will accept communists, Fenians, which is Irish people, and hoodlums, which I'm not sure what it means in this context, but it's quite a racialized term in America. The idea of a hoodlum is usually associated with like a black person.
Sorry, sorry, this is super off topic.
No, go for it.
About Fenians. I thought a huge part of New York history is built by Irish people who migrated to New York.
Yeah.
Okay. And they hate on them?
Yeah.
Oh God.
It's the same thing.
Oh.
Yeah. There is a book about it called How the Irish Became White. Because... Yes.
What? It's just so offensive.
Because, in not too long ago, but long enough ago, Irish people were not considered to be white people.
By Americans or by general?
By Americans, by English people, particularly British people.
Oh.
And yeah, they were subject to a lot of racism and Yes, so the comic is kind of saying, the cartoon is kind of saying that this country lets in pretty much everybody, but it's drawing the line at these Chinese men. And in my opinion, it's sort of saying it doesn't go far enough.
Yeah.
We should also be banning, the socialists, the nihilists, the Fenians, the hoodlums. Yeah.
So much hate.
So much hate. You can see on the gates it says Golden Gate of Liberty. This is a reference to the Golden Gate Bridge, San Francisco, which kind of places this cartoon geographically. He's sitting on...
Oh, San Francisco, because it was one of the biggest port for Chinese immigrant labor.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you think about it, there's kind of East Coast immigration tends to be kind of the Irish European workers. Yeah. West Coast tends to be kind of Japanese, Chinese, Pacific workers as well.
Yeah.
He is sitting on in a pile of crates. One that says industry, it says order, sobriety, peace. And I think the suggestion is that these are things that I think the suggestion is that these are like things that the state or the city of San Francisco have ordered, and he is kind of blocking them. I don't know if that's reading into it too much. Or is the suggestion is that like these are things that we can have now that Chinese immigration is banned?
That's confusing.
A little. It's stupid is what it is.
Yeah.
So what we can draw from these images is that the Chinese immigrant workforce was not having a good time. By 1924, there were further restrictions on immigration. Chinese people were denied citizenship and the opportunity to naturalize, which is unlike European immigrants. They were prevented from buying land, and in many states were not permitted to marry white people.
God.
Cool. But just like in the 1800s and 1700s, the treatment of Chinese people moved with US politics. How the tide changes.
Is this the First World War or second?
This is the Second World War.
Oh, I see.
Do you want to describe what you can see in the poster?
On the poster, there's a character that looks like an Asian man with guns and uniform. He's obviously a soldier, as the title suggests, the Chinese soldier. And then on top of that, there's a slogan that says, "On our side, with us all the way." I'm guessing now they are kind of promoting the Chinese soldier as our ally with the US at war.
Yes. So,
this is Taiwan, though. Isn't it?
I'm not sure what the flag looked like.
Oh, I need to double check. Okay, continue.
So yes, this is a propaganda poster issued by the Morale Services section of the US Army.
Look.
Oh yeah.
That is Taiwan.
That's a Taiwanese flag.
You know what? It's probably because before the Second World War, during the Second World War, Republic of China as a party was ruling over China in general. So the Communist Party hasn't come to power yet. It's probably why that flag is still on in this poster. I'm
not a flag guy.
Okay, just saying, because this could raise a lot of concern, you know? People are really sensitive over Taiwan. Is Taiwanese Chinese? You know? It's a big question.
No, you're 100% right.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm also going to reiterate again. Okay. I am not a flag guy. There are some people who are like really into flags. and will be able to tell you exactly why that flag is there and what it represents.
Okay.
Not me. I just noticed that, well, for one, this is a much less stereotyped image of a Chinese person.
Mm-hmm.
They look like a normal human being.
Yep.
The exaggerated like facial features from the previous cartoons are kind of gone. It's much more sort of representative. I do you want to know why this poster was made?
Is it made for soldiers in the US Army so then they know that Chinese soldiers aren't their enemies?
This one specifically was made to help. This is so bad. This is made to help American soldiers recognize their Chinese allies and differentiate from Japanese soldiers.
Oh, God. Oh, you.
So the uniform.
It's just choosing a different group to hate on.
Yeah.
But to be honest, at that time, it would have been...
No comment. No more comment.
Yeah. Is it war, you know?
Well, and also as a Burmese person, I'm when it comes to Japan in the Second World War, if I speak, I may regret it.
That's not the main point of the conversation today.
No, it's today. Not. No, it's not. It will be at some point, I guess. Yeah.
For another day.
Another day, another time. I mean, I will still recognize that this is, this is the result of some pretty systemic racism within the army. They had to make a poster so that you could tell the difference between Chinese and Japanese people, soldiers who are literally wearing uniforms. I also want to highlight what the text says because it shows how fickle racism is. So it reads, the Chinese soldier fights on, unconquerable warrior, true friend and firm ally. With us, he pushes the beep into oblivion.
What's that?
That is a racial slur for Japanese people.
Oh, I see it. Don't.
No.
Okay.
With bare hands, he builds bases for our bombers.
Oh.
So...
Now you want to be friends.
That's exactly it. Now you're like, wow, he's working really hard for us and building things for us. Now you appreciate the labor of Chinese people.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, you still have to use a racial slur against Japanese people because it's American. That is all to say. The Magnuson Act loosened restrictions for Chinese immigration, so it's in the 1940s. But large-scale Chinese immigration didn't occur again until the 60s, I think partly to do with the communist revolution, people kind of leaving the country to go to America.
Yeah.
One thing I want to say is that we've seen a lot of stereotypes of Chinese people. And I feel like nowadays, and you can correct me if you think I'm speaking out of turn, I think Chinese immigrants are just as likely to be stereotyped as crazy rich Asians or model minorities, like smart, rich, ambitious, come from wealthy families. The idea of like the tiger mom. And I think that's like that thing we were talking about of like with racism where like the person that you hate or the people that you hate have to be kind of simultaneously like underdeveloped and the smartest people in the world. Like they want it both ways.
Okay.
If we look at when we look at the stereotypes that were from before, it's all about kind of cheap Chinese labor, essentially viewing people as bodies to build things. And now when we look at things like the TikTok ban and the way that the American government talked about the Chinese government, that they're using these apps to spy on people, and they are kind of almost like what's the word? It's like conniving or like plotting. And I don't think, it doesn't make sense to me, because you can't have it both ways. They can't be stupid laborers and these like diabolical evil geniuses at the same time. And it's just, I wanted to point out that that contradiction at the heart of like all racism.
It's all prejudice if you don't like that person, whatever they do, you would think that there's an intention behind this, and it's usually pretty evil.
When you think about things like the yellow peril as well, it's like there's panic around these people who are exotic, they are other, they are foreign from the kind of white American demographic. And I think it's still so like relevant now, particularly after COVID. The anti-Chinese sentiment was bananas. It was crazy. We've taken a little detour and made ourselves quite sad and angry. Then we're going to go back to chop suey fonts.
Yeah.
Ba-ba-bam. Here we go. This is a famous example of a chop suey typeface in use.
Yeah.
It's for a film and a play called A Trip to Chinatown.
Yeah.
It's printed by the Dangerfield Printing Company in London. And to their credit, the poster originally had a different typeface on it. Oh. And when they saw this typeface, they were like, oh shit, that's bad. Not enough to change it back, but apparently they were quite appalled by the typeface.
Really?
Which is, good for sort of the 1920s. It's good enough. Again, you have a Chinese person in the kind of traditional clothing, the hair and the shoes. This particular poster became very famous in a French magazine that basically just contained images of posters from the sort of Art Nouveau period. So people would go through that and sort of buy them. So if you think of things like the Le Chien Noir, the black cat poster that's very famous, this is kind of up amongst those.
Imagine people having this in A1 poster above the sofa.
Yeah. But it's just so cultured.
French.
Also, just like looking at typographically, it's pretty terrible.
Yeah.
The way the two is written, like the T and the O are interlocked.
And the placement of these characters, these letters as well.
It's so disorganized. It's so like, I didn't mention it earlier, but like one of the things when I was looking at calligraphy.
What calligraphy?
The Hansi calligraphy.
What, the Chinese calligraphy?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. It looks nothing like this.
No, and it's like this. Everything I read was sort of saying there's this emphasis on harmony and flow and kind of fluid motions.
Yeah.
And everything about this is so choppy and again, this like spikiness.
Yeah.
And like it's that like scimitar shape, that association with like weapons and like maybe I'm reaching, but like this idea that it's like associated with like almost like violent action. Like
I don't know.
The movement of it is so sharp.
That's true. It looks it does look kind of aggressive, but my way of seeing this is, I think this is this font took inspirations from a little bit of the Chinese calligraphy from the brushstrokes, as you said. but it was delivered in a very classic Western calligraphy style, particularly with the use of pens, and mostly because there's a lot of fountain pen use in Western, well, I want to say English or Latin calligraphy. And this could be why the brushstrokes in here in this chop suey font is looking kind of choppy and is very rigid. It's trying to mimic the flow, but it still looks like it has a lot of edges, and it's mostly because of the medium. Maybe it's because of the medium that was created in.
That's really interesting.
Okay, can I have some more wine, please?
Oh, yes. Of course, ma'am. ASMR. One of the unique things about chop suey fonts is its association with Chinatown and Chinese restaurants and Chinese food.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk a little bit about Chinatown. I chose this comic because I think it very much represents the story of Chinatown. It's by Alex Norris, and they made it to talk about queer spaces, but I think it applies just as well to the idea of Chinatown.
Yeah.
So the role of Chinatown for Chinese communities, because of the discrimination against Chinese people, is they wanted to build their own spaces.
Yeah.
You can't find work in the wider community, so you create work within your own community.
Yeah.
You create social spaces, food spaces, living spaces. And then everyone gets angry at you for being isolated and not integrating. One of the first major Chinatowns was built in San Francisco. There was another one in LA as well. Kind of popped up all over the West Coast.
Yeah.
And an important thing to understand about the San Francisco Chinatown that I think has a direct correlation to the way that chop suey fonts are associated with Chineseness. That's in air commas. It's not. Don't be mad at me. On April 18th, 1906, there was a huge earthquake in San Francisco. The earthquake didn't cause serious damage to the buildings in Chinatown. No, the damage was caused by the explosions.
Oh, in Chinatown.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
I didn't tell you what happened.
Wait, so the earthquake happened? No, the earthquake didn't happen.
The earthquake happened. It was huge. It was very, a huge earthquake. The quake caused loads of fires to break out.
Yeah.
And also broke the water mains as well. So there's fires and there's flooding at the same time. So soldiers were called in, and they started to create fire breaks. So think the barricade in Les Miserables, but to stop fire instead of French people.
Okay.
And they did this by blowing shit up.
Why?
They needed kindling for the barricade, so they blew up buildings to create barricades to the fire. So the fire would be contained into the barricade and they could extinguish that rather than having it spread out.
Okay.
This might surprise you. The explosions did not stop the fire. It actually caused more fires.
But there's so much explosives and wood.
Oh my God. So Chinatown was not damaged horrendously by the earthquake.
Yeah.
But by April 19th, it was burnt to the ground.
God.
This is a photograph of Chinatown post fires. Again, caused by explosions set off by American soldiers. I think this photo is quite amazing.
Yeah.
It's properly like a disaster film. It's apocalyptic.
Yeah.
Initially, there were calls to simply relocate the Chinese community. You can imagine by who and for what reasons. They were sort of like, perfect, you have nowhere to live.
Oh,
Go somewhere else.
Yeah.
But community leaders pressured the local government to instead rebuild the neighborhood. And there was a local businessman called Luk Tin Eli, or Eli. Luk Tin Eli?
Okay.
There's a local businessman called Luk Tin Eli who came up with the idea of using an American architectural firm to design and build the new Chinatown. The Americans had never been to China. So they used reference images of temples from the Song dynasty, which is basically medieval China.
Yeah.
And that is how the pagoda and curved roofs became motifs of the classic Chinatown look. Chinatown essentially went from being a closed community to being a theme park.
Yeah.
White people loved it. They came and visited and ate, air quotations again, Chinese food. This is where we get to talk about the origin of the term chop suey. Am I saying that weird?
Is this English?
It apparently comes from a Chinese word.
Do you know the Chinese word?
I'll tell you in a second. I've got you. So this is where we get to talk about the origin of the term chop suey. There was a loophole in the Chinese Exclusion Act that meant that restaurants could travel overseas and hire foreign labor.
Okay.
This led to the creation of a network of Chinese businesses with agencies that would help you to develop a menu and branding that would appeal to the American consumer idea of Chineseness.
Okay.
Thus begins the stereotype feedback loop. Have you noticed that on a Wikipedia, if you look at like a dish page on Wikipedia, they always choose the most disgusting image of the food?
Yeah.
Every time.
You know what? I read that on Wikipedia. Well, actually, I don't know too much about food, but I know that about celebrity. On Wikipedia page, the reason why most celebrity profile photos look really ugly is because they're not allowed to use, they're only allowed to use images with public domains and public open license.
Stuff that's not been retouched.
Yeah. That's why they always look overdosed with flash and highlighter and makeup and just grease on the face.
Overdosed with flesh.
Yeah.
That's a wonderful phrase. Okay, this is an image of chop suey, the American Chinese dish. The origins are very unclear.
Yeah.
It might come from... it might come from...
Oh, 杂碎.
That's
Yeah.
way.
Yeah, it means leftovers or just bastards.
Bastards.
Yeah. If it's a dish, then it means leftovers.
And if it's a man?
If it's a man, it means bastard.
That's interesting. You learn something new every day.
杂碎, 2 words. The first word, it means mixed. Yeah, a group of mixed stuff. And then 碎 means broken bits.
Mixed broken bits.
Yeah.
Just like me.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Bastards.
Just like me. No.
Okay.
So apparently this was a dish, this leftover dish, was common in Taishan, the home of many early Chinese immigrants.
Oh.
So the idea is that they brought it over and the kind of mispronunciation of it led to the term chop suey.
Oh, so 碎 is 碎.
Suey.
Yeah.
One story says that the dish was created when Qing Dynasty Premier Li Hongxiang visited the States in 1896.
Okay.
By a chef who wanted to create a dish representing a potential American-Chinese partnership. So it's a dish that will appeal to the tastes of American people and Chinese people.
All the scraps. Stir fry, that's it.
It's just like any drunk person will tell you that, yeah, the scraps in a stir fry taste fucking great.
You know what? And they have to have, other than soy sauce, they have to have ketchup, they have to have sugar and syrup and corn syrup.
MSG.
Yeah.
Yep. I am an MSG fan. What's more likely is that during the visit from the premier, this dish was just promoted as Lee's favorite dish. This is what he eats.
Oh.
And it's like a cheap dish made from leftovers.
Yeah.
So it's a really smart business idea.
Yeah.
To be like, come eat this dish. It's made of the little crap that I can't use anywhere else. And by the way, it's the king's favorite.
Yeah.
It's quite smart.
Yeah, it is. Propaganda, marketing.
It's good margins on that.
Mm-hmm.
So I mentioned earlier the idea of the stereotype feedback loop. So the fact that Chinese American chefs were serving the dish gave it authenticity, but they know it's not authentic, but because they are serving it, they're giving authenticity to it. And it becomes popular, and then it gets kind of, well, you can't take it off the menu now.
Yeah.
We're going to have that forever. And the same kind of goes for the typeface as well. This is why I mentioned this an hour ago. This is why I'm using the term chop suey to describe this typeface, because what a good metaphor. It is the leftover bastard bits. And it's what the food is, what an American thinks Chinese food tastes like, and the font is what an American person thinks Chinese language looks like. So, what does a chop suey font represent? This is the social semiotic research of Yu Li, where she categorized examples of the chop suey letter form from Los Angeles Chinatown into the following sort of boxes.
As if the interpretations of the font. Okay.
So she had a catalogue of examples that she found photographed, and these are the different categories that she could put those examples into. Do you want to read out the list?
Yeah. Okay. The text says A, this is something Chinese. B, the Chinese are others. C, the Chinese are bad. D, this is exotic and therefore interesting. E, this conveys ethnic pride. F, this is affordable. And lastly, G, this has a long history.
And I think that really succinctly sums up the way that chop suey is kind of interpreted by people. It's very broad and it's very varied, which makes sense. And again, it's all these chopped up mixed vegetables put into one dish.
Yeah.
To end, we are going to look at some examples of chop suey in use. I'm going to show you an example, and I wonder if you will recognize it.
The takeaway box.
Oh, where is
and
it?
the bar in Denmark. Oh God.
This is interesting.
You know this font still exists in the billboard. No, in the shop front of a Chinese restaurant in Denmark. No, in Iceland. In Reykjavik, I went last year.
You went, how was the food?
No, I didn't go into a restaurant.
Oh.
I just saw it because it's really big, just right there.
Oh.
And it still exists in 2024.
Yeah. This one is special to me.
Okay.
Peggy
Sir. Oh.
Peggy Sir is Nanny Peggy.
Oh, no way. Well, this is her agency.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So, there's this kind of, I guess, radical honesty. No, telling on myself, self-snitching. This is the logo from about 2000 for my grandmother's casting agency. And whilst this is not strictly speaking a chop suey font, it definitely has the flavors of the kind of like ethnic, again, air quotations, ethnic typefaces.
Yeah.
It's that brush stroke and the suggestion that you're using an ink and a brush to write it out. Also the fact that it was called the Oriental Casting Agency. Goodness me. What I'm trying to do with showing this is to show that people can use language and imagery well-intentioned.
Yeah.
Because this is how my grandmother could signal to white casting directors that her agency specialized in Afro-Caribbean and Asian artists.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where I look at it and I think, oh man, that was on my CV for so many years that I worked for the Oriental Casting Agency.
Oh yeah, you were in EastEnders. Is that how they found you?
Yeah, so the casting agency specialized in background actors for big films because there was a gap in the market for basically getting crowds of ethnic people.
Yeah. Okay.
And yeah, my grandmother was one of the people that could do that. She literally used to just like walk down the road from her home in Streatham to Brixton and have a clipboard and sign people up that she saw in the street.
I love that.
I remember her telling me once that she needed Jamaican people. She needed people who looked Rastafarian or were Rastafarian. And she just ended up going to one of the pubs in Brixton. I think it would have been the Windmill.
Okay.
Which is like a classic, either the Windmill or the Beehive, one of which is like a really kind of classic Jamaican Afro-Caribbean pub. And she walked in and basically found a guy and was like, do you have any brothers? And he was like, no, but I've got kids. And she's like, excellent, sign them all up.
That's exactly how I imagined like old TV or Hollywood film stars are discovered.
Yeah, it's kind of mad. And also because she took advantage a lot of like the fact that a lot of directors, white casting directors, really couldn't tell the difference between anyone. I mean, my grandmother has a IMDb page and one of her roles is Chinese villager. That woman was not Chinese.
Yeah.
As far as I know. So this is examples of how people can kind of use these fonts or these signifiers, these semiotics and signifiers in ways that are positive.
Yeah.
Debatable, but you know, like there is a good intention behind it. And also it's being used by Asian people, which is a difference.
It's a big debate though.
It's a big debate. If God rest her soul, if she's still alive today, I'd tell her to change the logo.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe the name too.
Oriental.
Yeah. But it's just funny because like it says Oriental, but then it's Afro and Asian artists, Afro as in Afro-Caribbean and Asian artists, which is the two like polar opposite. Well, not polar. Two
like regional opposite.
Yeah. It's called the West Indies.
Who?
Okay, now we're going to talk about the bad side. the racism that still exists. I think if there's any kind of doubt that these typefaces have a racist origin or a racist connotation, we only have to look at the way that they are displayed on dafont.com, where all good graphic designers get their fonts from. Let's have a look at some of these names.
Ugh.
Does any stand out to you, Lil?
Oh, Chin Chan? Who says that? Oh, ew.
There's also one called Chang Chang too.
Where?
There.
Oh, that's bad.
It just makes me think of one of the most racist things that's ever happened to me.
Really?
I can tell the story. I think it's fine. I used to work in studio at...
Oh, yeah.
And we had a client who wanted me to brand their restaurant. And I drew up a bunch of like mock logos, roughs, to try and get a style direction. And the client came in for a meeting, sat down, I presented my logo designs to him, and he, at the end of showing him all these logos, said, it's just not gonna it's not really working for me. And I was like, okay, what's wrong with them? He's like, it's just the style of them. I was like, okay, what's wrong with the style? And he's like, it's too Asian. And I was like, oh. Like, my Asian ass just sitting there like, okay. Tell me more. And he's like, it looks too much like Asian restaurants. It looks like, like Bao or Wagamama's or Basaba or, Ching Chang Wong or whatever. My heart fell out of my butthole. Oh my God. I think all the color went for me. I remember my boss was like a white guy.
Yeah.
I remember he looked at me and just went, do you need the bathroom? And I was like, yes, I do. I stood up and I went to the bathroom. I was like looking in the mirror and I was like, what the fuck just happened? What the fuck?
Oh God, that's so bad.
It's so bad. And then the guy left.
It's like saying the M word in public to a black guy.
It was one of his moments where I was like, this is like such a typical sort of like mixed race, like identity crisis thing of being like, do I not look Asian? Why did he feel okay saying that to me? And then, no, I think he knew.
Yeah,
I think
knows.
he just was saying it without, I don't know. You want to give people the benefit of doubt and be like, he's just ignorant. No,
they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
They're just not cautious enough.
Honestly.
Oh no, they don't intend to be cautious about it.
No. And this was like a pretty posh white guy. He wanted his restaurant, he told me that he wanted his restaurant to have a kind of classic British feel.
Ugh.
I was like, what? Like egg and chips? Like,
yeah.
What do you mean? He's like, classic British fine dining. I was like, I didn't know that the British were known for fine dining. Anyway, the restaurant never opened, so he can suck on that. As you can see, go back to the fonts. These names are fucking horrific.
Yeah.
I think maybe the two worst for me is Hiroshima and Pearl Harbor.
Where? Oh my God.
It's so bad.
Why this aesthetic as well?
This one's also just so racist.
Oh no. Okay, that's bad.
I guess for the listener, we are pointing at the one above egg roll. You'll never catch me on tape saying that. It's just all these classic like stereotypes about Asian culture. Dragons, ninja, manga, Sudoku. Also the Second World more weird comments about eyes, like yeah.
And that second last.
Yeah, and mispronunciation.
Yeah.
Yes. Mispronunciation.
Mm-hmm.
Something I'm very good at.
Yeah.
Of the R's. Yeah. R's and L's. I'm now going to show you a couple of examples from political campaigning, particularly in the States, because they cannot be normal about Chinese people ever. So this is a leaflet for San Francisco politician Dr. C. O'Donnell for the 1876 ballot. I'll tell you what he's about in a second. Have a little look.
Okay. This is an image with a white guy, obviously, in
Mr.
a suit.
O'Donnell?
Yeah, O'Donnell. And he is in front of... He's holding a stick. And he's trying to push away a huge ball that has human trapped in the ball. And it says Chinese exclusion. So I'm going to guess the ball is kind of like a prison with Chinese people. And he's trying to kick the ball away.
Yeah, it's a kind of bad play on words, like the term he got the ball rolling, as in he started something.
Oh, okay.
So he's saying that he is the person who started the ball rolling on Chinese exclusion. And he's proud of it.
Yeah.
He's standing very smugly with his stick labelled Perseverance.
God.
That's how he did it, through perseverance.
Oh, with a foundation of public opinion.
Yeah. Oh, God. It's not subtle.
No, not at all.
Yeah, and this is my main complaint about like most sort of American political cartooning. The last episode, I talked a bit about Thomas Nast and his kind of sentimental propaganda. It seems to be this trend towards kind of just labeling everything, and you still see it now when you look at political cartoons from the States. Like, they just love slapping a label and stuff, which is kind of, it goes against everything that we were taught about how to be good illustrators.
Yeah.
Like, if you need to label it, you probably haven't drawn it clearly.
Do you think it's a trend of cartoons or illustrations at the time? Because obviously this was different in maybe, I don't know, 1800s.
I think the thing is, it's still, you still see it. You still see this weird labeling of everything. And I think it kind of is, it's the artist underestimating the audience. And if that audience is the American public...
Let's make it as clear as possible. Is that what you meant?
Can I spell it out for you?
Well, in a way, I guess it's a lot of concern over misinterpretations. You want your images to be read, quote unquote, correctly.
Yes, which is impossible. You can't control.
Yeah,
how people interpret your work.
If this is propaganda, they want it to make it as clear as possible. So artistic intentions or interpretations are not their main concern.
Yeah, exactly. I'm now going to show you, to prove that this was not only an issue in the past, but an issue in our current times, a YouTube video for Pete Hoekstra, a Senate candidate who was using his opponent's links to China and Chinese trades to create this attack ad. And I'm going to play it for you. Actually, first I have to pee.
Yeah, go ahead. I'll listen. I'll watch.
Thank you, Michigan Senator Debbie Spend It Now. Debbie spends so much American money. You borrow more and more from us. Your economy get very weak. Ours get very good. We take your jobs. Thank you, Debbie Spend It Now.
I think this race for U.S. Senate is between between Debbie Spend It Now and Pete Spend It Not. I'm Pete Spend It Not Bookstrom, and I approve this message.
Oh, don't read the comments, Lily. Oh, God. Oh, God.
But the comments are surprisingly humorous and not supportive over Pete Spend It Not.
Oh,
At least the first three.
that's good.
They were making fun of Pete Spend It Not.
Aye.
Yeah, it's really bad. It's all kinds of bad.
It's really terrible. It's really terrible.
It's using...
What stood out to you the most?
The most?
Yeah.
The most...
I mean, it's all bad, but like, what was particularly bad?
The most is... This is basically not only the protagonist as if Pete Spend It Not. Who is it? What is his name? Pete what?
Hoekstra.
Okay, I'm gonna say Pete Spend It Not. Is not only... The protagonist is not only saying or making the claim, his political claim against... I don't know, Asian people of their imaginary crimes of taking people's jobs and taking resources out of America, is also kind of manipulating viewers that this actor, Debbie, who's obviously an Asian, is actually confessing crime. Confessing imaginary crime. And this is so bad.
Yeah, it's really bad. So the Debbie that he's talking about is his opponent, who is this white woman encased in the fan. The fan also contains money. I don't believe that the Chinese woman in the video has a name.
Oh, okay.
But she is she is saying thank you to Debbie for spending her money in China and making her life so much better. But again, it's that fucking contradiction thing of like, she's saying like, I'm getting all this money from Debbie, but the way that they portray her is in a rice field, wearing like this traditional clothing with the hat
With bicycles.
and a bicycle.
It's not Chinese. It's the classic stereotypical representation from America to Vietnam.
Yes.
The bicycles and the rice fields and the
Yes.
clothes.
They can't. I mean,
What is...
they can't tell the difference.
Americans really love making fun of Vietnamese people.
That's because they lost the war.
Oh,
Kind of. I'm not getting into that.
okay.
As you can see, anti-Chinese sentiment, the chop suey font that's on this webpage, hand in hand when political ties with China are worsened, these fonts are used to signify the other, the bad, the scary, the corrupt as well. We also want to talk about the fashion context as well, because particularly for chinoiserie and the kind of Orientalist period, fashion became really influenced by East Asian wear, clothes.
I know this. Isn't this Hollister's campaign?
This is Abercrombie and Fitch.
I knew it. I also did some research on this.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I was also teaching associations and racist associations. So yeah, that came out and it was so bad.
It's terrible. So yeah, this is a selection of t-shirts released by Abercrombie and Fitch in 2002.
Yeah.
They were recalled the next day. If I zoom in, we can look at some of the t-shirts and what they say. We have Buddha Bash. Get your Buddha on the floor.
What does that even mean?
I think, do they mean bunda? Like butt?
Oh.
I don't know. I don't think Americans say bunda. Abercrombie's Pizza Dojo. Eat in or walk out.
Why? Why? What is the storytelling behind this?
And then you see the typical, like, that illustration of a Chinese person could be from the fucking 1890s.
Yeah.
It's insane. This one's really bad. Walking bowl. Let the good times roll.
How did you read this?
Chinese food and bowling together. So it's imagining this is a combination Chinese restaurant, bowling alley, the two great American institutions, with a pretty fucking racist yellow peril ass illustration of a Chinese person. And then this character, does that say anything?
It just says it's called tea. It
Tea.
just says take or hold.
Interesting. There was also on the Buddha Bash one, there was something here as well.
I can't see this word, but this just means sister.
Cool. So it has nothing to do with anything on the shirts.
I'm wondering if this is a name of one of the gods in the Buddhist religion.
Oh, that's so offensive.
I don't know. I'm just wondering.
Maybe.
I don't know much about Buddhists.
Okay. I mean, if it is, that would be really bad, but it's still really bad. And this one, the worst one. Wong Brothers Laundry Service. 555 Wong. 2 Wongs can make it white. Oh my god! Oh, that's so bad. That's so bad. Who followed this slogan? Oh my god. Yeah.
Why do I love this word so much? It just says hold, tea.
Tea.
Tea just means
Hold.
take or hold.
I think they just looked at it and were like, yeah, that looks really Chinese.
You know what? It's a same. Maybe it's the same story as lots of people had tattoos of Chinese characters, but got them completely wrong because they don't understand what the meaning behind the word is, and usually that just means, I don't know, much worse things.
Didn't Ariana Grande get? I don't think it was Chinese. I think it was Japanese. She got like mixed grill written on her hand.
You have to Google that.
While you Google that. Okay, so these t-shirts, they were instantly recalled, and you will love this. A quote from a spokesperson said, "We personally thought Asians would love this t-shirt. We are truly and deeply sorry we've offended people. We never single out any one group to poke fun at. We poke fun at everybody, from women to flight attendants to baggage handlers, to football coaches to Irish Americans to snow skiers. There's really no group we haven't teased."
What? Why are they so proud about this?
Right? Like, that's not good, right? Like, you know, that doesn't sound good. That's bad. I love this statement. "We personally thought Asians would love this t-shirt." Sure. Yeah.
Maybe they've never met any Asians before.
I think they've never met an Asian person who will go, "That's fucking racist."
Yeah.
Because again, it's those power dynamics when you're in a place of work. When I think about like when that guy was saying really racist things to my face, I didn't necessarily feel like I could be like confrontational about it.
Oh, yeah.
I kind of went, "So what is it that you do want?" And then like cried in the bathroom.
Yeah, in a workplace, it's...
So I can see them showing these t-shirts to people who work for them.
Yeah.
And then being like, yeah, that's a t-shirt. It's, and also this is 2002. It's not like how it is now, where I think,
No.
thank God, we are much more sort of
Aware.
and empowered. and can go to HR.
Yeah. But surely these t-shirts got a big backlash.
Huge.
Okay. Yeah. Good.
Yeah, it was almost like instantaneous.
Well, yeah.
A lot of bloggers wrote very angry blog posts about how the shirts made them feel.
I see.
And
Very well.
And obviously that's from 2002, and that is actually over 2 decades ago.
The peak age of Fidge
Yeah.
with the naked models in the shop. I don't know how they allow this. Surely that's against something.
I grew up in Kingston, and in the Bental Centre there was a Abercrombie and Fitch and a Hollister.
Yeah.
And I distinctly remember, like, the guys who stood outside with, like, the tops off and the pecs and the abs were, like, sick formers from the local school.
Do you know him in person?
A few people would know them, but they were, like, under the age of 20.
Oh, I see.
It's incredibly...
But if you go...
so problematic.
If an underage teen go half naked in public, surely that's against... I don't know what it's called in England. I don't know. Like
Public indecency?
public conduct? Misconduct?
I have no idea, but this is in a shopping centre in the middle of Kingston, and
Yeah.
like the girls from my school would go feral
Oh,
for it.
yeah.
Like hormonal grammar school girls who never see
Oh,
boys,
yeah, you went to girls' school.
never see men.
Yeah.
And you go to your local shopping centre and you see these like carved marble men.
And they're sick formers.
And they're
the
sick
seniors.
formers. So cool.
Oh, same thing that goes in my school.
It's ridiculous. And then I found it all very disturbing.
Kind of funny
It's so
at the time because I was a teenage girl.
Yeah. It was so weird.
But it would be so weird if someone I know works there.
Just what a weird way to have your sexuality like formed.
Yeah.
In the Bental Centre in Kingston.
In public.
See, like, very, very strange. Very, very odd. Okay. Last example.
What a weird age.
This is from another brand, and this is much more recent. It's a little hard to see because the person who designed these t-shirts has tried to wipe everything off the internet for good reason.
Look at that caption. Jeez.
So, do you want to read out the caption?
Yeah. Well, first of all,
I'll
there's
save
an
it for you.
image. Yeah, it's an image of a t-shirt that says "No thank you" in the chopstick font. And the caption says, "Where did COVID-19 come from? Nothing is certain, but we know a bat was resolved. Beginning today, my limited edition quarantines are now available. Link in bio, DM for details. Free USA shipping, of course. Local Venice drop-off or pickup available. Thank you so much for support and a sense of humor."
The hashtags.
Oh, hashtags humor not hate. Hashtag bad fried rice. That is bad.
That's so bad.
So bad and so public. Keep it to yourself.
Oh my
Oh
god.
my god, the comments. I'm loving it.
The comments are messy. So
Wait, hang on. Why is someone supporting it?
2 people are supporting it.
Oh, jeez.
You have a Chinese person saying people who think this is funny are clowns, and then you have another person saying this is extremely racist and harmful. Thank you to those 2 people. You are correct. Then you have Buffer Loco saying these are bitchin'.
With a rainbow emoji and a arm
Pump.
emoji.
And then Garrett Light saying fire, 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 fire emoji. Okay, so the context of this is obviously the COVID-19 pandemic, when people thought that COVID came from bats. And this is a shocking example of xenophobia during COVID, the association of COVID with China, but Americans' idea of what China is, which is takeaway food and chop suey fonts.
Yeah.
And them saying no thank you to bat fried rice because, again, this is another racist stereotype, the idea of like you don't know what meat you're getting if you go to an Asian restaurant.
What do they think the meat comes from? Dogs?
Yeah.
Bats?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it's all that fear around like wet markets and like what scary things are brewing there. And it's like, dude, if you've eaten a hot dog, you have no platform to stand on.
Exactly. And also, markets are generally regulated.
Kind of.
Yeah, but you won't see crazy things happen. Well,
It's this like they're sneaky, and they're gonna put things in your food to what? Expose you to COVID?
There's a lot of imaginations to add to the fear of the unknown. You know, it's without research and investigation that adds to this fear.
I feel like a lot of it is this general sense of like a vibe. They don't know why they feel this way. They don't know why they associate this font with these people and bats and meats and food and COVID. They don't understand why all these connections are happening. It's just a vibe, and they're tapping into that vibe and they're like, haha, I've made a connection. That means I've made a joke. And it's kind of, I wonder if it's a kind of social thing of like, we've talked about, 200 years of kind of anti-Asian sentiment in the US. And I wonder if that kind of via osmosis of just exposure to it makes people kind of like accustomed to it or something and make it seem okay. I don't know. It seems so, I think...
it could be the same sentiments of, even though something is obviously racist or have really bad intentions at the start, if you own it for a long enough time, some people might think that they start to own it and they claim authorship over it. And they think of this as something else. This is not necessarily evidence of us being racist. It could be just, artistic interpretations. It's appropriation. Yes.
You can't erase history.
Exactly.
Yeah, that reminds me a lot of the Swarte Pete.
What is it?
From the last episode, where...
Oh, Santa.
Yeah, Santa. Santa's little helper, the very racist Dutch tradition of Swarte Pete, where people will do blackface as a celebration of this tradition.
Quote unquote, tradition.
Yeah, this tradition that's like, 200 years old and not even based in any kind of like... It's just some guy's story that he made up. Yeah. Stupid. Okay. I need to tell you the context of who made this. Well, I don't have their names, which is probably good because if I find their names, I'll probably want to find their houses.
Okay.
But this t-shirt was created by a designer and a design director who launched it together independently, but they worked together at Lululemon.
Oh, no.
And Lululemon has had beef with Asian people for a long time.
Okay. Oh, yeah, I heard.
Yeah. Do you know why it's called Lululemon?
No.
The founder thought that it would be really funny he thought it'd be really funny to hear Chinese and Japanese people try to pronounce Lululemon.
That's the intention.
Mm-hmm. So, I'm not saying that it's systemic. No, I am actually. It's systemic. It's in the DNA of the thing.
Yeah.
Okay, we've gone on a journey.
Okay.
We've gone through time.
Yeah.
We've gone through the ages. You haven't used your safe word once.
No, this is super interesting. I don't think this is offensive at all. I mean, you're learning through history.
I know, but sometimes you need a break.
I think it's okay. It's not even near the harshest racist comment I've ever seen.
Oh, that's really sad.
Oh,
but
no.
also, not that wasn't supposed to sound like I was disappointed.
No.
Damn it. I think to round off, I wanted to go back to where we started with this Korean War memorial. And given what we know now, what it represents. Mm-hmm. And for me, it represents the use of this typeface represents the kind of American aggression towards East Asia in a nutshell.
Yeah.
It's this chop suey font doesn't just represent Chinese people anymore. It represents all East Asians. And also, more importantly, it represents communism. It represents socialism. And it's just so strange because no communist or socialist propaganda looks like that. But the association has been racialized by this font.
It's an interpretation from one group to another.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now I'm sad and angry.
Oh no, don't be. I mean, now we are definitely more aware of this and we think of this more critically. That's why we have this conversation.
This is true. And also, it is just a typeface.
Yeah.
And it can be easily replaced and taken off.
Exactly. And if we're upset about it, we talk about it. We raise concerns.
We do. And we have the power and opportunity to do that. And
yeah, and maybe we could, raise concerns, make a complaint. And if they do the rebranding, we could pitch a branding proposal.
I always think about the opening of the Ivy Asia, just like the Ivy restaurant, but their Asian branch. Asian-themed Ivy restaurants.
What? Since when?
I'll show you this afterwards, but there's a ridiculously... Actually, fuck it. No, I'll show you now.
Wait, is this... So this has happened?
Yeah. These... Huh? There's one in Mayfair.
They still exist? Oh, that's a long time ago.
They still exist. Have a look.
Oh my god! That's so bad! Oh shit! What the... What is on his face?
Oh my god. The Zen stack. Oh god. Zen lunch.
I hope they don't exist anymore.
They're still open.
Or the Ivy Asia.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so bad.
Yeah. Every time I see them,
Think about this.
Yes, I think about this. I think about the Japanese geishas being pulled along in a rickshaw by a Chinese man.
And they have no words, they have no lines, just saying
just making general sort of Asian sounds.
And falling down off the cart and in the restaurant looking like clowns.
Yep.
In front of white people.
In front of all the white people who look at them like, oh my goodness, they need a Zen lunch because Zen Buddhism is what is epitomized by the Ivy Asia's lunchtime menu.
Oh my god.
I also want to clock the exoticized, racially ambiguous mixed race girl. He was in it for half a second.
With the dancing.
The sexy one. My God.
Yeah. Their representation of mixed race girls are sexy.
So I think it's just so exotic. It's the number of times where a guy has said to me, like, it's just so sexy that you're half Asian. What does that mean? What does that mean?
But you know what? I've had a lot of conversations with some of my Asian friends. We're not friends anymore, but we used to be friends. That they had partners who are white, and they would talk about how much they wanted a mixed race baby. The word they use, oh my God, my mixed race baby is going to be so cute because they're mixed race. What are they mixed of? These conversations kept coming up 10 years ago. Not anymore. But I think that's just because I'm in my bubble, so it was different now. Yeah, shocking. So even Asians, a lot of Asians think that.
It's true. It's such a weird stereotype because it's not necessarily kind of negative, but it's also just so sexualizing and objectifying in a way that is really uncomfortable.
So sexualized.
Especially when people are talking about their babies. Like, I remember, this might have been the same friend. Someone said to me, like, oh my God, I really want a mixed race baby because they grow up to be so hot.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's her.
And I was like, oh.
Oh, shocking.
Thank you. But it's such a strange way to think about your baby.
And it's such a strange way to refer people like you. Not people like you. She used the word people like you, know?
People like you.
Hey.
Like, there are no people like me. This has been like the running thing of my whole life is that like when you're like mixed race.
It's like downsizing. You're downsizing to a group.
Yeah.
Or a label.
Yeah. Oh.
But to be fair, I think this is just humanity. Most of it is humanity. We love labeling things and categorizing things.
It's that thing of it's exotic. When things are exotic, they are a little bit removed. It's that whole like the grass is greener over there. It's cooler. It's like different to what you expect. I am not sexy.
You could be that sexy girl in the IB Asia ad. Dancing with a lot of makeup.
I'm wearing a hat with a penguin on it. Oh God. Let's wrap it up. Yeah. This is a good place to end. Thank you, Lily, for offering your perspective and your time and for giving so much kind of historical and cultural stuff that I wouldn't, because for my sins, I was raised in the English school system. Would you like to plug where people can find you?
Yeah, thanks for having me. I loved it. You can find me on Instagram, Lily Congyuet. Thanks, guys.
Wonderful. Okay, I'm supposed to say something at the end. I should have written it down.
Is it a disclaimer to we don't hate white people?
Oh, no. I love white people. Listen, some of my best friends are white.
I was going to say it, but I feel like this is wrong.
Go on.
No. I was just going to say that, but no, what you said, but I feel like this would sound wrong in 10 years.
Probably.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's a good sign that society is progressing in the right ways. If in 10 years people listen to this and go like, oh my God, it's so offensive.
That's true.
Okay, if you want to follow Lily, is Lily Kong Yuet on everything?
Yeah,
pretty
everything.
Much. And if you want to hear more from stuff.jpg, if you're watching on YouTube, just like subscribe, please.
And maybe Holly will show her face once and for all.
Maybe. Feels weird after the I feel insecure after seeing such a sexy mixed race.
As opposed to the penguin hat.
Yeah,
and
the penguin hat reality. You can find us on Instagram, stuff.jpg podcast, and if you want to email us, You can, but I'm not going to make it easy for you. You have to look for the email. Okay, thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Oh my God, that was really long.